Look at this graph. Every time it makes me laugh. Art is a journey. I used to believe this was kind of silly way of looking at it, but now I think it's true. Each painting or drawing that you go through is part of the process. It's a story, and it's just one story in the part of your grand adventure as an artist. It sounds pretty exciting to be an artist because it's an adventure. You don't know where you're going. You don't know where you're going to end up. You don't know what kind of art you'll end up doing. You don't know breakthrough. You don't know if you'll do it as a living. Most people will end up just doing it as a hobby, which is great. Some people will try and make it professional. Some people will. And some people just won't break into it. And some people might even give up, which is really sad. And I see a lot of people giving up because there's AI out there when it could just create something in 5 seconds. But I feel like when you just have AI do it, you're missing out on a lot of the things that make it great, other than just the production of it. The process of it is also very important. You are on a great adventure. You're basically playing a video game, and it's really cool. There's a lot of things to learn. There's a lot of different paths to go down, a lot of things to explore and experiment, and maybe find things that don't even exist. Could you imagine playing a game and finding something that nobody knew existed in that? Wouldn't that be so cool? And then eventually people will figure it out, but once you find something first, people will follow. I want to break down what that story might look like. I'm going to explain it using the Dunning-Kruger effect, which people have used this, talked about this so much, and it's been talked about a lot online, and that's probably why I just think about it. But I think it really correlates with the art journey. And I have a few more things that I want to add on to it and that I think most people don't cover, but I'll get to that once I explain the first part. We're at spoilers! You're welcome to watch this part. If you know what this is, you can skip it, I guess. We have two graphs. We have our two axes. This the Y is going to be confidence. And the X will be competence. Or we can say skill. Keep it easy. So a lot of people will start their journey at the top, which is high confidence, low competence. They don't really know what they're doing, but they think they know what they're doing. And we call this Mount Stupid. And what happens? A dangerous part is some people get stuck here and they don't get better and they don't improve, but a lot of the time, most people will just fall off this cliff and just be like, ouch, this hurt. And I think another thing that a lot of people don't say, sometimes people start down here where they just don't feel confident at all. Like people that say, oh, I couldn't draw, oh, I would never be that good, I never could get better. They get stuck here and they don't even get the Mount Stupid, and they don't even get it. They're just down on it already. Low confidence but high confident, or low confidence and relatively low competence. So you realize you're bad, basically. Valley of Despair. You're bad. You think. Here, we'll go back and do this. You think. We'll just do this. Do like some crash marks just to say that this is really hard. You hit it hard. And something right here. Another thing that I like to explain right here is where people quit. Most quit here. Because you just don't feel good about yourself. You don't think you're good. You don't really have any. You realize you don't really have any skills. But there's a next part. that where things get better if you just stick with it and spend some time and actually try and learn, you will start to improve. It's a lot longer, a lot steeper of a slope. Your confidence will go up and your competence will go up. So you know what you're doing and you feel like you know what you're doing. You will know what you're doing and you also feel like you know what you're doing. So most people quit here. Some people even start here. And then you become goated as you get goated when you come up here. All right. There's another part of the graph I want to explain. Not explain, but show something that I think people kind of miss. So I'm going to zoom in basically on the Valley of Despair. So we're going to start down here. This is where the real learning begins. And competence. Actually learned how to spell that today. So I'm becoming enlightened on my spelling. Okay, so what happens, it's not always just straight up like this. It tends to be more like, okay, I'm getting better, and then I get worse. Or you think you get worse. Because you have a bad drawing. And at least that's your perception of you have a bad drawing. Because that, obviously, your confidence is down if your perception is bad. Then you have a good drawing up here. So you think you're really good because you had something good. So your confidence spikes and you're just like, okay, I got this. But then you come back down, you crash down to maybe not all the way, but pretty far down. And you kind of feel like crap again because you had such a good drawing and then you made another bad one. Bad things affect our mental health and our confidence so much. It affects us actually even worse. Sometimes we feel even worse about it because you just had such a terrible drawing. This is probably really relatable to a lot of people. So this is kind of a really zoomed in section. So we're basically looking at like this right now. But you will get better. And you'll slowly get better and better. And you have a good drawing again, and then a bad drawing. But your bad drawing's actually better than where you were before you made the good drawing. So at least you're still improving. It's just sometimes there's these dips like this. And then you just kind of consistently, and sometimes you make a good drawing, and then sometimes you make a really bad one. And it just goes on and on like that. You're still improving. Your confidence will drop, but it won't drop as much the more time you've been with it. And that is something I think happens that people don't really see what happens in that journey. I know this isn't the actual Dunning-Kruger effect at this point, but I just wanted to... This is something I've observed that happens. And I think it's really cool to talk about that and add a little bit more to it. Okay, so that's basically me showing my graphs and whatnot. Look at this graph. Every time it makes me laugh. I'm going to get copy strike for that. Let me put that at the end. So the Dunning-Kruger effect explains basically on how we feel about things and how good we are about things. So the Dunning-Kruger effect basically explains on how all skills are. You're really confident at first, and then you hit a wall because you realize you're terrible. You get humbled, and you're like, crap, I'm not good at this. And for some people, they quit. They don't want to do it anymore. So either they switch subjects or they pick a different hobby and they try something all over again. And they never get better at anything. So you have to learn to deal with some of that discomfort of realizing you're not very good and just accept it and get better at it. And I find that those people that realize they're not good earlier and get better. They've been through stuff. They've had their challenges. They've overcame them. And that's why they feel more confident later, because they get through them. And I know some people will be like, "What? Weren't you telling me to draw what I want?" And that's true. Draw what you want, but stick with it even if it gets a little hard or challenging, at least for a little bit. That's kind of what my last video was about, is not quitting. And hopefully you'll see that you're getting better and you'll feel confident and you want to draw more of that. So there's a lot to do with like how you feel about yourself and how you feel about your skills that really affect on if you're going to get good or not. My drawing for today, I think, came out really well. I am improving at it. I feel like I'm in the valley of despair for the videos, though. But the art, I know I'm improving at, and I'm seeing progress. And I'm afraid when I make a bad drawing, I'm eventually going to make a bad portrait drawing. And I'm going to be like, okay, let's try landscapes for the day. But that might be a trap, because I really want to get good at making portraits. And until next time, Dartagon out. Look at this graph. Every time it makes me laugh.